Welcome to the Say It Out Loud podcast. I'm your host, Vasavi Kumar. If you're eager to gain clarity, speak with unwavering confidence, and liberate those inner voices, you're in the perfect spot. My mission here is to empower you to break free, find fulfillment, and ignite your passion. You ready? It's time to say it out loud. I've put together a guide of my top 10 tested and proven to work practical strategies and habits to help bright women like you say no, set your boundaries right, live confidently, and build healthy relationships, starting with the relationship you have with yourself. This is a self-paced guide, and I can't wait for you to dig into it so you can start becoming your most confident self, because she's in there waiting for you. Head to the link in my show notes or go to vasavikumar.com/guide and grab it today. Your intuition has always been right. And I know it's scary sometimes to walk away, and trusting your power, trusting yourself, your intuition can be scary, especially if you're so used to ignoring the whispers and you're so used to ignoring what your intuition is telling you. But it's just another habit that needs to be built.
Hello to my brilliant Being Human with Vasavi community. I'm your host, Vasavi Kumar, licensed therapist, confidence mindset expert, business strategist, and a first-generation Indian immigrant woman on a relentless mission to bring you simple and tangible actions and advice to help you step up your life and business. Get ready for unfiltered and unscripted conversations with some of the brightest and realest people I know in mental and emotional health, marketing, and business to help you get out of your head and get moving. I am super excited to share a few ways that you can work with me. You can learn more about those at vasavikumar.com or on my Instagram page at My Name is Vasavi. The first way to work with me is directly in a one-on-one VIP capacity. This is a very high-level, high-touch, personalized opportunity to dig deep with me by your side to excavate your limiting beliefs and work through whatever is stopping you from being, doing, and having anything you want. And you'll be taking a lot of action. The second way to learn from me and be surrounded by people who are committed to becoming the person they were born to be is through my membership community, Mind Your Own Business. To join the community, head on over to vasavikumar.com. And now it's time for another episode of the Being Human with Vasavi podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the Being Human with Vasavi podcast. This is me, Vasavi, founder of the Mind Your Own Business membership community, licensed therapist, and business coach for women entrepreneurs. Listen, I'm so excited about this episode. We are at the fourth of 4 episodes, the last out of my 4-part series. And today is New Year's Eve. It is the end of 2020, y'all. And, 2020 brought me a little bit of crap. It also allowed me to see areas of my life that I needed to really pay attention to. So I'm grateful for all of it. If you haven't already checked out the first 3 of these series, of this 4-part series, please go ahead and do that. I talk about learning to walk away from this idea that it is our job to stay in shitty situations and make things right all the time. I also talked about walking away from emotional perfectionism and walked away from the need to beg for love and attention. So if you haven't already, be sure to go back to the first of the series, and I'll link it in the show notes below. And I want to say that I love you and I want you to feel good about yourself. And I know that it's not always easy, especially if you've been in a toxic relationship in your life and maybe you've gotten out of it, or maybe you're still in the toxic relationship and you know that you need to walk away, but something keeps you there, right? The trauma bond and the chaos and the familiarity and the comfort. And so you guessed it, today's last episode for this 4-part series is about learning to walk away from not trusting yourself, right? It can be really hard to trust ourselves, even though the red flags are so apparent, even though behavior has not been, changing on the part of the other person, right? Trusting yourself either while you're in a toxic relationship or after getting away from a toxic relationship is going to be hard in the beginning. I remember that when I left all 3 of my relationships, I spent many nights alone like, oh my God, what could I have done differently? I should have done this. I just thought I was a bad person, right? I would blame myself. I would blame myself for the decisions I made in picking the wrong person. I got mad at myself that I was so much of a martyr that I chose to stay in a bad relationship. So, I got to say, ultimately, I'm glad that I had to walk away and learn to trust myself, because ultimately I would have really regretted not walking away when I had the opportunity to leave early on, right? So in many of my relationships, I got all the red flags. In the very beginning, I got all the red flags, but it was hard to leave because we're human and we want connection and we want love and we want attention. And I remember having moments where I remembered how he ruined me and brought out the worst in me and took away parts of myself that I'd never given to anyone before. And just, you start to recollect and kind of obsessively spiral about the fights, the disagreements, the betrayals, the lies, the cheating. And I remember how many tears were shed, how much anger I suppressed and expressed, and just the pain that was buried in my heart and the hurtful words that I heard and that I spoke. And I think the thing that I really had to come to terms with was that how silly I was to believe that I could change a person, fix that person, and save that person from being troubled. But here's the beautiful thing about time and attention and focus on ourselves. As time goes by, as our wounds are slowly healing, we're going to start to learn to forgive ourselves, right? You're going to learn that your mistakes are a part of being a human being. And not the end goal, but it's a beautiful thing that happens when you finally accept yourself after going through so many disappointments, and you'll learn that you can piece your heart back together, that you do have what it takes, that you can make peace with your past and choose to move on. And you're going to try trusting yourself again, one day at a time, right? It doesn't mean though, just when you start to trust yourself, it doesn't mean that you're going to completely forget the situations you put yourself into, right? It just means being extra careful this time around with the people you allow in your life. I know learning to trust myself, it looks like me really listening to the inner whispers, that voice that's just like, ding, 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 don't do that. You've been down this road. You know this pattern, right? So trusting yourself means building those walls up again, brick by brick, to where they used to be. And I don't mean walls and protect yourself from other people, but treat yourself with respect and know what you're willing to tolerate and what you're willing not to tolerate. Those are our boundaries, right? It means giving yourself a second chance to make things right. And by the way, you have multiple second chances. It is never too late to make things right by you, right? It means trusting yourself means knowing exactly what you want, deserve, and then go after it. But it starts with you learning to trust yourself. I'll be really honest with you. I haven't really been picky in who I allow in my life. And because of that, I've kind of let in all sorts of people and I've gotten hurt, right? But when you start to trust yourself, you raise those standards, right? And just settling for a relationship just because it's comfortable, and you start making decisions based on, how do I feel when I'm with this person? Do I feel like I can be my full self when I'm around this person? But only when you start to really get to know yourself can you even really feel what you're feeling and how you're showing up with somebody else, friendships or romantic relationships, right? So rather than chase empty promises, you'll start being attracted towards people that fill your soul with satisfaction and pure happiness. But you got to be the one to give that to yourself first, right? You'll be able to trust yourself to determine the difference between a love that's temporary and a love that's bound to last a lifetime, right? And here's the hardest part, because we're talking about walking away from things in 2020. You're going to trust yourself enough to be brave to immediately walk away from someone who brings you unnecessary pain, who makes you feel like you're not lovable, who makes you have to beg for attention. And if you want a little bit more on the begging for love and attention, make sure you go to the episode right before this on begging for love and attention. You trust yourself not to be impulsive when you're lonely. How many of you listening right now hurt yourself when you're lonely? Like drink a bottle of wine or reach back out to exes or eat all the things in your pantry because you don't know how to be lonely and you're looking for comfort, right? You'll start to be patient with yourself and never again hurry in searching for a person you want to be in a relationship with. Here's the thing about toxic relationships, whether with your family or your friendships or your romantic relationships. You become stronger because of that. You learn what you're willing to tolerate. You learn how little you maybe respected and loved yourself, and you can start speaking up for yourself, start trusting yourself, start creating those boundaries, right? And you can become more aware of someone's intentions. Listen, I'm just going to say it, if you're desperate for love and you're desperate for attention, you're going to not be able to smell deception, right? Or detect those lies. You're going to learn how to follow and trust your gut more. And if you have the courage to walk away from a relationship or speak that boundary or say no, I want you to know that that takes so much courage. And you are a warrior, right? And it's oftentimes we go back to the same people that have hurt us, hoping that things will be different, only to be disappointed again. And it's like we already know how the story's going to end. Yet being the empath that you are, being the highly sensitive individual that you are, being the hopeful romantic that you are, you keep going back. You keep going back. You keep hoping and wishing and waiting. Maybe this time it'll be different. Maybe this time it'll be different. But I want you to know this, and I'm saying this from personal experience, having kicked myself in the pants way too many times for not listening to my gut, not trusting myself. Your intuition has always been right. And I know it's scary sometimes to walk away. And trusting your power, trusting yourself, your intuition can be scary, especially if you're so used to ignoring the whispers and you're so used to ignoring what your intuition is telling you. But it's just another habit that needs to be built, right? Start by listening to your intuition for the littlest things, asking yourself, what do I want to eat today? What do I want to wear today? Right? Maybe you want to redo your bedroom, or maybe you're ready to declutter. Whatever you have voices telling you, listen to it. Because that little voice inside of you is a big voice that you need to be listening to. It sounds like a little whisper and we just shove it aside. But the more we listen to that voice, the more we begin to develop trust in ourselves. And when we learn to trust ourselves first and foremost, we won't ignore the red flags. We won't ignore the manipulation. We'll spot it. We'll be able to spot it a mile away. And then we can do what we need to do to cherish ourselves, heal our heart, and learn to really respect our voice. Because our intuition has never steered us wrong. And if you've probably recollected a lot of kind of previous situations in your life, you ignoring your intuition is what got you in a lot of trouble. Right? A lot of pain, a lot of heartache, a lot of suffering. And so this year has been a lot of walking away for me. Oftentimes we think we got to build, but sometimes, most of the time, it's just the foundation that we have to really get solid, rock solid. And that starts with knowing yourself, trusting yourself, stop begging for love and attention. Start listening to what we have to say versus caring so much about the opinions of others. Realizing that it's not our responsibility to save other people. We can never save another human being. We have to only save ourselves. That's it. I want you to know that I'm here for you. And if this is something that you really are looking for support with, then I want to encourage you to become a member of the Mind Your Own Business membership community. I can't tell you how many brilliant women are in that group. All brilliant in their own way, creative, highly creative. And the number one thing that I feel like I've attracted in my community are women who really kind of struggle with their romantic lives. And I've taken this role as the fearless leader and to guide women to really start to respect themselves and walk away and focus on themselves. And it hasn't been easy. I've shared this with you. But what I do know to be true is that, when you finally say enough is enough, like you are unstoppable. You got to say enough is enough. And then really start to see yourself as enough. You are all that you need. For right now, until you meet that person that you're, holding out for, it's okay to hold out. While in the process, you're working on yourself, minding your own business. So if you want, you can go ahead and become a member today. Just head to vasavikumar.com/membership. I want to say I wish you a happy, happy new year. May you get everything that you want in 2021. Know that you are not alone, and I have created a community that would be perfect to support you in your goals, your dreams, and desires. I love you so much. I'll catch you next year on another episode of the Being Human with Vasavi.
Thank you so much for listening to the Being Human with Vasavi podcast. My membership community, Mind Your Own Business, is the official sponsor of the Being Human with Vasavi podcast. Have you been looking for a community of people who get you, who think like you, and who are determined to becoming the person they were born to be? I'm talking no fluff, direct, real, and a raw community of people who are open-minded and willing to be honest with themselves and be the ultimate creators of their own life. Then I'm inviting you to join my subscription-based membership community, Mind Your Own Business, a community of people who you can turn to seek insight from, and give back to. And I'll be there by your side, leading bi-weekly, monthly membership calls that'll get you inspired, motivated, and on fire to go after anything you want. Join today by heading over to vasavikumar.com. If you got some golden nuggets from today's episode, which I have no doubt you did, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast and leave a heartfelt review. And remember, when you know yourself, you can be, do, and have anything you want.
If you love today's episode, then say it out loud. Subscribe, leave a review, and come say hi over on Instagram at My Name is Vasavi. Until next time, say it out loud.